So we're going to have a conversation about Google and what Google are doing across Africa. Just the other day, the Google CEO for Google and Alphabet, the holding company, took to Twitter and excited many people. Sundar Pichai, as the boss, Oko Maju, he said he's excited to open our first product development center in Africa later this year. We're hiring engineers, product managers, UX designers, researchers in Nairobi who want to build helpful products and services for people in Africa and around the world. Okay? Global Giant is coming here, and they had released a press statement a day earlier on the 19th of April. We're hiring for our first product development centers in Africa. Can I just read like the first two paragraphs so we can just all understand?
Read even three paragraphs that we understand exactly what you're saying.
What Google is looking for. They may call themselves, whatever do they call themselves?
Google. And while you are at it, please tell us about the password also.
They are Google. And a password. Are you an aspiring engineering manager, product manager, software engineer, developer relations engineer, senior UX designer, or UX researcher? Do you want to help us to create transformative products and services for people in Africa and around the world? Then apply for one of the numerous open roles at our new product development center in Nairobi. To help realize Google's mission, we'll be hiring visionary engineers, product managers, UX designers, and researchers to lay the foundation for significant growth in the coming years. They're looking for talented, creative, and collaborative people who can help solve difficult and important technical challenges, such as improving the smartphone experience for people in Africa or building products that will help everyone to thrive together. Alongside this great technical knowledge and a passion for solving hard problems, together with others, you'll need to understand how people across the continent use their phones every day and the challenges that they face. How might searching for information and accessing entertainment be different in a context where internet connectivity can be challenging and devices and data plans can be expensive? Perhaps you have great ideas for how we can serve relevant and useful information to users just when they need it most, or do you have a vision for how to reimagine the entire online experience so it's better, easier, and more individually useful, particularly for first-time smartphone users? Then we want to hear from you. So they say, apply for jobs, very many jobs. And this one is not a rumor that has all been circulated by, no. This is coming from Google itself.
The
guys themselves out there. And they're saying this is what we want to do. Sundar Pichai, the CEO, tweeted this and also confirmed it. And we want to have a conversation with Agnes Gathaiya, who is a Google country director for East Africa, to get to know, okay, so what are all these things? They're looking for engineer, UX engineer. The people who are being looked for, they know. They're the ones who are being looked for.
They know.
But maybe you have a cousin
brother.
Or a cousin brother.
Or cousin sister.
And your cousin brother is a very good roads engineer. Can they do UX?
Ama ni fundi ya magari mabovu.
Ama ni engineer ingine type thing.
Yes.
Agnes Gathaiya is with us now, joining on video link. Good morning, Agnes.
Good morning, everybody. So happy to be back here.
No, we're
Agnes,
not happy
I'm
that
sorry.
you're back.
Can I just even start from the beginning?
Sorry. You
Agnes, last time, good morning, first of all, Agnes. If I may just jump on this thing. Last time we spoke, which was a very good conversation, you promised to us and to all the millions of Kenyans
who listen
in Kenya and worldwide that you would be here with us in the studio. What happened?
And we even allowed you to carry that very delightful picture you have in the background with you when you come to the studio.
I don't understand.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm not in the studio. Unfortunately, I've had meetings back to back 6 a.m. online, and I was unable to then jump in the car and drive there and be there on time.
We have expressway.
For some. I'm still waiting for my invite to use the expressway, like all other Kenyans.
Okay, do not worry. Next one, the expressway will be open. We had a Kenya pipeline manager here. They'll even do a pipeline for you, so you can use. Wow. You can choose, enter the pipe or enter
and be transported. As we say in Kenya, faster, faster.
Good to have you on the show, though, Agnes, and thank you very much for joining us. Big announcement that's coming from Google this week.
That's massive. We're so excited about it. We've been here a number of times, and we've talked incrementally about all the different things that we have been doing in Africa and indeed in Kenya. And this is just the next step of Google's partnership with Africa and Kenya, and we're very excited about it.
Tell us about it. What is this? So, Product Development Center. What is that?
So this is going to be the first product development center in Africa. We have what's called an artificial intelligence research center in Ghana. And what the product development center is going to be mandated to do is to look at all our different products across Google and make them more helpful and intuitive for the African user. And by that, what I mean is that your user experience when you're in the US or when you're in Japan or when you're in Brazil or in other countries may be slightly different on our platform because of many different issues, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's the type of phone you're using, or the cost of bandwidth, the type of bandwidth we have on the ground. So our product needs to speak to our specific environment across Africa. And the best way to do that is to actually get people who use this product on a day-to-day basis, people who understand our specific challenges, and they may not be challenges, maybe they're opportunities here in Africa, to then take those products and make them more helpful for the African user.
Okay, so Agnes, if we're looking at now how this will play, I mean, I hear you saying that making the products more, useful. Could you give us examples of exactly how this would work? Somebody working in whatever sphere, whether it's a student, whether it's somebody who's running their own business, how would this then translate to now when we're looking at tangibility? How exactly would these then be able to work out? Give us some examples.
I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I had the real honor of speaking with different user groups. In Africa, we have many smartphones. I mean, we have many phones, but the population of people with smartphones is not that high. So the first thing is, how do we ensure we get as many smartphones into African users' hands? The challenge there has always been the cost. So how do we work, and how do our engineers work with the people who then develop these phones to make sure they make amazing phones that are accessible to most of the people? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, once you get your smartphone, most of the people we have found have a 1 GB phone, have a 2 GB phone. For a lot of products, global products, some of those phones, the platform tends to be a little bit heavy in terms of how much data they use, in terms of whether the phone is able to run multiple apps at the same time. So what the engineers here will be tasked with doing is, can we create a similar experience as somebody sitting in the US, in Japan, in Brazil, for the African user? It's a difficult challenge, but we're looking for talented, very creative people who can solve difficult and important challenges.
You know, when you use the word challenge, I think it's very appropriate, because if I am to look at the data that I've been acquainting myself with, smartphone penetration in this country is approximately just 26%, if my figures are right. And yet, if you look at even the business transactions that are online, it's just slightly below 10%. Now, what I'm saying is you have your work cut out for you. But on the positive side, it means there's an entire market that is basically untapped waiting for someone to creatively tap into it.
If you think about it, in the whole of Africa, we have about 1.4 billion people.
Yes.
Currently, majority of them are young youth. Only 300 million use the internet.
Yes.
And anybody who has access to the internet can tell you how transformative it's their lives, everything that becomes. From, somebody who's farming, a smallholder farmer somewhere, the minute they get a smartphone, they then get access to information that then can transform how they farm, their inputs, their markets, etc. Many of us, we are told today, please come to my house, drop off in. And we get there. But there are lots of people who don't have access to that amazing experience and information. And as I said here before, our mission at Google is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Universally here means everybody, everywhere, including every single African.
So
that is why. So that's why it's so important for us to look to ensure we have and we are able to grow the number of internet users across Africa.
how do you see the new center operating, Agnes? Is it from a point of the developers who will now be hired and will be based in Nairobi, starting with looking at how to localize the existing products that have been developed by Google? Or is their mandate and their brief going to be whatever is working, it's there? Now think of completely new stuff. Don't come and give me an iteration of what already exists.
So it's going to be twofold. And one of the things we need to make very clear is they're going to be building for Africa and beyond. Because some of the challenges we see here in Africa are actually replicated in other parts of the world. So their mandate will be twofold. The first thing will be, can we ensure that the user experience, the African user experience for existing solutions is seamless and delightful? The second thing is, are there things that can solve for our challenges that Google should be looking at building? Now, when we build, we always build with a billion users in mind. There are over a billion in Africa, and a lot of our challenges, as I said, are replicated in some other parts of the world. So it would make me extremely proud if we're able to build here solutions that then Google adopts for the rest of the world.
Okay, so now with this rollout that's happening in Kenya, is this now, because you talk about rolling out something new for 1.4 billion, over a billion users across the continent. So I mean, obviously we know what's happening here because I mean it's a local agreement. Do you have the same thing then replicated across your markets on the continent to say, this is being pulled in this way?
So indeed, the center is based in Nairobi. But we are building for the whole continent. And therefore, even when we are hiring, if there are excellent engineers seated somewhere else in the continent who would like to apply, we would very much welcome them. What we have is, part of this team is researchers. Those researchers' mandate is to actually go out and test and see these things that we are identifying that we can solve for. If we fix this, does it fit? Does it fix for majority of the people in Africa? So that we also ensure, even though the site is best here, it serves the whole of Africa.
I don't know whether this is an appropriate question, but is it possible for you to perhaps just give us a preview into what it is that Google hopes to do to capture this untapped market that I spoke of earlier? I mean, we've seen things that you've set in motion. The last time you're in the show, there are these wonderful programs that you had in place. We haven't come back to discuss the outcome as it currently is now. Maybe you could mention that, but other plans that you have in place, because as you say correctly, the sort of infusion and the sort of investment that Google wants to put in this country, Google doesn't go around doing things because somebody wakes up in the morning and decides that this is a good thing to do. They've done due diligence and they've understood what needs to be done. A peek preview, please.
Indeed. I think as I was going through different tweets and different things on social media when this announcement was made, there were a lot of people who are saying we're so happy Google is coming to Kenya. One of the things we need to realize is that Google has had offices here for the last 15 years. Indeed, Google has had offices across Africa for the last 15 years. The first one was in Egypt. Exactly 1 month after that opened Nairobi. Nairobi was open. And then we have South Africa and we have Lagos. So for the last 15 years, we've been partnering with Africa. We've been partnering with our local communities in country to help build an ecosystem that is digital. So indeed, the last time I was here, I spoke about Sundar's last announcement. And it's such a privilege that our CEO has taken such an amazing, he's so invested in Africa. So late last year in October, he made a commitment of $1 billion to Africa over the next 5 years. That commitment was a rolling, it was another commitment, the next one. So we've been here for very many years, and we've worked in the ecosystem quite actively, especially the digital ecosystem. And we've worked on a number of different things. Actually, just yesterday, we landed what is called the Kuyano undersea cable. The Kuyano undersea cable is supposed to solve for access. Remember earlier on I said some of the challenges we are facing here are even as basic as accessing. Do we have good internet, reliable internet? So we have a cable that runs from Cape Town. It has West Africa, lands in Lisbon, and into London. And this is the largest undersea cable in Africa in terms of capacity. So yesterday it landed in our third country, Nigeria, and that is going to solve for infrastructure type challenges and open those countries up to good, secure internet access, similar to what we enjoy here in Kenya. Yeah? And then when we look at access again, the question is, how many Africans, once we have the infrastructure there put in, how many Africans are then therefore using that internet? For Africa, we are mobile first. For a lot of other countries, they access the internet through laptops, computers, etc. Africa has always been mobile first. And so we focus as Google on developing solutions that are mobile first. And that is why the next access challenge then becomes, can we get affordable smartphones into as many people's hands as possible? And last year, we actually launched Safaricom Lipam Dogom Dogo. That then allowed people, once we have gotten the price as low as we can we get people to pay a little by a little? And that's the access part. Then we looked at the ecosystem. And in the ecosystem, we have actually been training developers in Africa for the last 6 years. Today, Africa has over 700,000 developers, and at least 1 in 2 has been either part of a Google university or community group, or has had training by Google under our certification programs for both cloud and Android. And that's 1 in 2. So we have invested significantly in training developers. Indeed, recently, it was actually in the news, and thanks for carrying the feed, we actually launched a pilot with CS Makoha at KMTIC, KMTTC, a pilot on how do we include developer training in the TVET curriculum. And we'll be really happy to come back and discuss results on the current pilot that we're running. And that takes care of the developers themselves. Then we have been working with the startups. How do we build the capacity of startups to build, robust solutions themselves? African solutions for African problems. And we have been, we've had the Google for Startup Accelerator Program, and we've had the Launchpad Accelerator Africa Program. Both of these programs have been running the latter since 2017. And we have graduated many startups that have gone on to do amazing things. I think our first cohort had Trigger Foods, for example, that many years ago. And there are many other organizations. Then we looked at things like, when we look at venture capital coming into Africa, it's amazing. The numbers are fantastic. They're growing in leaps and bounds. I think last year we were able to land $4.2 billion in Africa. So far this year, and we've just crossed our first quarter, we have been able to land about $1.5 billion. But a lot of that has not been going to African founders. So we came up with a fund, and we deployed $3 million and took in our first cohort of African or Black founders for 6 months and ran them through an amazing mentorship program. So we just graduated that group on March 31st. And in just that 6 months, they had increased recurrent revenue by about $1.5 million. They had hired over 230 people, 53% of them being women, in a space where there are rarely women.
Yeah.
And they had actually raised quite a considerable amount of VC capital. So Google has spent time helping build the ecosystem, the bedrock, the foundation on which digital economies will then be deployed across Africa.
Okay.
So the next step is having trained all these people, where are they going to work? So here we are. We have this product center, development center, and we are so looking forward to getting amazing applications.
Good. It sounds like, this has been part of a long-term plan. And even what you're discussing now with the new announcement this week, it's still part of a long-term plan. We still, I think, would like to interrogate some of the work that you've done so far and seeing the benefits and seeing, like you're saying, various programs targeting the various target groups, how they have impacted the entire community and the entire ecosystem. And that's why we want to extend another invitation to you. This time, you will come. We'll send a vehicle to come and pick you. So that you come and sit with us in the studio. We have this conversation. But Agnes, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having these conversations with you.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to receiving all those amazing applications.
Thank you, Agnes.
This is going to transform Africa.
Indeed, it really must be a big thing. Agnes Gathaiya is the Google Country Director for East Africa. We've been talking about what the Google has recently announced, the Product Development Center being set up in Nairobi, first in Africa, looking for applications for various positions. Just go to Google and find the information right there.